So you may have seen in many applications and websites, there is one common authentication method that is Google authentication and is one of the secure authentication method. So in this section, we will authenticate user in the same application using the Google authentication. And you also have seen Firebase also provide us the Google authentication. So for that, we need to do some configuration. And if you remember, if we were creating the Firebase project for the first time, there were one field that was optional. That field was SHA certificates. And I said that this is going to be required for Google authentication. And now this is the time to also add that SHA certificates in our Firebase Android project. So before going forward, here I have created one demo that how the Google authentication looks like when we do it in our Flutter application. So here you can see in the screencast, we have the same application that is also launched in this emulator. So we have this sign in with Google button. Simply, if we click this button, simply this window will appear or a pop-up will appear, and here you will see Flutter, choose an account, Flutter logo, and that will be the logo of your application. Choose an account to continue to. Here my project name is test project, and also here you will see your account that is added in that specific device that you are using, and you can also add other accounts in that device. By clicking this, add another account, and when you click this account, so after some time this pop-up will disappear just like this and will navigate you to the success page just like this. So this is what we are going to do in this section. So that was a little demo of that application, and now first thing first, let's go to the pubspec.yaml file, and here we need to add one dependency that will be Google sign-in to work with Google sign-in in your Flutter application. So after adding this dependency, simply pubget. If the pubget completes, simply close these messages, and after this, simply you have to move to your browser, and in the browser that is our Firebase console where we have work with email authentication. Now we need to also enable the one more provider that will be Google. You can see we have enabled this one. And now this time we have to enable the Google authentication sign in provider, and you have to select your supported email in here, and after this simply save this. This will take a while and your sign in provider of Google will be enabled. So after this is enabled, you can see in here, simply click this project settings and go to your project settings, and here you will see your Android app. Here this requires the SHA certificates. So to add that SHA certificate fingerprints, here you will see this question mark. When you hover it, it will say see this page for the information on using the key tool to get the SHA hash of your sign-in certificate. Simply click the see this page link, and this will navigate you here to the Google Play services authenticating your client. So our SHA certificate fingerprint 1 looks something like this, and SHA 256 looks something like this. So to access this, there are two ways. The one is just to open your application in the Android module and run this sign-in report, and the other one is just copy this command and paste it in your console, and there you go. You will get your SHA certificates for authenticating your client in your application. So if you are using the Mac or Linux, simply you have to switch to this Mac and Linux and copy this and paste it, and there you go, you have got your SHA certificates. But if you are on Windows, there might be some difficulty for you, like if you have not set up your key tool in your environment variable. So first you have to set your key tool in your environment variable so that you will be allowed to use that key tool to access your SHA fingerprint certificates. So simply copy this and run your command prompt as administrator and simply paste that command in here. And after this, simply hit enter, and this will ask for a password, and the default password for this is Android. Simply you have to type Android. This will not show up in here. Simply hit enter and you will get your SHA1 and SHA256. And if you get error like not found the key tool, so for that you have to install the Java latest version. So that in your C directory, in your C local disk, you have to go to your program files, and here after installing the Java, you will get this Java in here, JDK 19, that is the latest version. And here inside the bin, and click one file and press K in your keyboard, and you will see this is the key tool in here. Simply you have to copy this path from here and go to your environment variables, and when this open up, simply environment variables, go to the path, edit it, and I already have added this C program files, Java, JDK and bin, where we have this key tool located. Simply you have to click this new and paste your copied path from here and click this OK. I'm clicking cancel because I already have this, and simply also click this OK, so your job is done. And then you will be allowed to paste your key tool in here and access your SHA1, SHA256 from here. So after we have got this, simply move to your browser and move to your Firebase, and here open up this and copy the SHA1 from here and add a fingerprint, paste this and save this. We got the SHA1, open up again the console and copy the SHA256 hash fingerprint and add one more and paste in here and save this. So that was the SHA configuration you have to do while doing the authentication of Google with Firebase. So that was it. Now move to your Android Studio. So now here in the Android Studio, we need to add one button in here. Right after this sign in button, simply go to your sign in page, and you also remember in this 21st section, I renamed this directory Firebase email and Google Auth just because we are doing the Google authentication, and that is a single method in here. So after this sign in method, we are going to have one more method. So this will be created in a while. Simply after this padding widget, here will be one more button. The button will be just like this, some spacing from top, height 10, and an elevated button with icon constructor, and in the style we simply set the background color to red. In the on press, we call the sign in with Google method, which is not created yet and will be created in a while. And in the icon, we access the Google icon from the font awesome icons. So to have the font awesome in your Flutter application, you also have to add this font awesome package in your pubspec.yaml file, so that you will be allowed to use the font awesome icons and have some beautiful icons in your Flutter application. And in the label, I just said sign in with Google. Now let's go and create this method also. So right after this method, here will be one method just like this. This will be asynchronous. Simply if we Ctrl S to reload, we got the sign in with Google button, which is not working for now. So to make it work, here we need to write some code. So first of all, inside this method, we will take the instances of the Firebase Auth and the Google sign in. The Google sign in is for retrieving some Google account information, credentials, and Firebase Auth gives us a method of sign in with credentials, so that we will authenticate user with those specific credentials coming from the Google sign in package and consequently this instance. So after this, we will put the try catch. If some exception occurs while signing in with Google, simply we will show that in the toast. So after this, in the try block, we are going to do, we will create an final variable. Its type will be Google sign in account, and its name will also be Google sign in account. It will be equals to await, and this is going to call the sign in method from this Google sign in. And this method of sign in is for initiate the Google sign in flow. So that's it. Also, this Google sign in account will be the account that has been clicked for authentication of Google in the application, and that hold all the identity of the user account. So after this, we will check if the Google sign in account or the information that is coming was not equal to null. As we have put, this can be nullable, so we are checking if it was not equal to null. So do something, otherwise this can also throw exception. We also know that as we are handling it using the try catch. So we will say if this Google sign in account was not equal to null. Inside this, we will do create a variable and its type will be Google sign in authentication and its name will also be Google sign in authentication. It will be equal to await as we are calling again one method, and from the Google sign in account, from this we will call the authentication getter from this. This Google sign in authentication holds the authentication tokens after the sign in. So that's it. After this we will do create a final variable. Its type will be auth credential and its name will be credential. This will be equals to Google Auth Provider dot credential, and as a parameter inside the credential parenthesis, it accepts the ID token and the access token. So we access the ID token and the access token from this Google sign in authentication. As we said, this holds the authentication tokens. So simply we access that from here. So to make it more clear, let me explain this place again. The Google sign in authentication holds the authentication tokens, and if the user selects a Google account to sign in with, we use the Google sign in authentication object to retrieve the access token and the ID token, which we use to create an auth credential. And this auth credential is an interface that represents the credential returned by an auth provider, and we provide the credentials from the Google Auth Provider and which accept the ID token and the access token, and we pass the ID token and the access token from this Google sign-in authentication that holds that tokens. Access token is a short-lived token that allows the user to access the Google APIs on behalf of the user, and this ID token is an JSON web token, or we can also say JWT, and you can also search it out about this, that contains the information about the user such as the email address, name and the profile image of the user. So after this we have got the credential. Now this method or this instance of Firebase Auth will come into play. If we got the authentication credentials and we have stored it in the auth credential, so it means we got the credential we have provided by the Google Auth Provider. We got the tokens. One contain the user information like the email address, profile, and the other is a short-lived token just for accessing the Google APIs. So lastly, we will do simply await from the auth instance, sign in with credential and pass that credential that we have retrieved. So that's it for this sign in with Google method. And also let me remind you one more thing. If you are using the Genymotion, you must have this OpenGApps installed so that you will be able to do the Google authentication in your device. Otherwise, this will not allow you to do the Google authentication in your emulator device, or if you are using another one, so this might cause its own problem. I don't know about this, but I'm telling you only about this Genymotion. So if you're using it, so you must have installed this and that will be it. Otherwise, this will throw some unhandled exceptions. So you must have to install this OpenGApps by simply clicking it and install it. So after this, simply stop your main.dart and run it again to reset everything, as we have set the SSH certificates for Google and we have added some dependencies and write a lot of code for the Google authentication. So we have stopped our main.dart and run it again. So let's wait for it. When it runs, simply we will test also this sign in with Google method. So if your application runs successfully on the emulator device, simply now you need to click this sign in with Google. So when I click this, we got some shaded window for the first time and this pop-up appears, and that's what we wanted. That is my email that is added in that device, and by clicking this add another account, I can add another account, and simply when I click this will disappears for a second and will navigate me to the success page. Now I am authenticated on my Google account, and that was it for the Google authentication. Now to make it sure, let's move to your browser and move to your authentication tab, and here you will see my user is authenticated with the Google provider, and these are the users that are authenticated or created with the email and password. So that's how you can also work with Google authentication in your Flutter application. And after this, simply also log this out, and that was it for the Google sign in your Flutter application.